And for more on the reopening of the Cradoc Four Inquiry, we are now joined by Advocate Gina Snyman from Foundation for Human Rights in-house counsel. Thank you so much for joining us, Gina. This is a powerful move and moment. As we understand, your foundation was very pivotal in advocating for justice for the Cradoc Four. Tell us about how all this came about.
Thank you. This is a very important decision for the inquest to finally be reopened. And the Foundation for Human Rights has been supporting the Cradoc Four family as well as other families in encouraging the MPA to proceed with these reopening of inquests, but in particular with criminal prosecutions. With the wrapping up of the TRC process, several hundred matters were referred to the MPA for prosecution. But we are aware now that there was high-level political interference and suppression in the prosecution of these matters. In the Cradock matter in particular, whilst we welcome the reopening of this inquest now, and that may bring some more information to light for the families, it is also a bitter pill to swallow in that it has been almost 39 years this year since the death of the Cradoc Four. And subsequent to the wrapping up of the TRC process and the TRC amnesty applications for the perpetrators in the Cradoc Four matter, that there was no action taken by the MPA at that time and over the intervening decades so that prosecutions could occur. In this way, there will not now be any criminal accountability, even though an inquest may bring more information to light about what had happened. The perpetrators will not be held criminally accountable, and that is a bit. We know that the last known perpetrator passed away in May last year, and with that died any possibility of there being criminal accountability. So what remains now is any new information that may come to light at this inquest. But we hope that in addition to it bringing some semblance of relief to the families, it may also shed some more light on the political interference that occurred within the MPA that has caused this unconscionable delay in resulting in deaths of perpetrators where the only option left now is an inquest as opposed to a prosecution.
Look, Gina, so many inquests had been lodged but never really got anywhere close to the stage. What happens next? Have solid timelines and necessary arrangements been communicated at this stage?
So at this stage, we don't have any indication of how this may proceed. As the Minister made the announcement today on the recommendation of the MPA that the inquest would be reopened, the matter will now be sent to the Judge President of the Eastern Cape Division so that a judge can be allocated and the timeframes can then be made for the inquest to be set down for hearing for the MPA to make determinations on which witnesses it wishes to call, as well as the families, which will have the opportunity to be legally represented before the inquest, who may wish to be calling witnesses of their own. We hope that this will progress swiftly now and to hear more details from the MPA shortly on the timeframes once there is a judge allocated to this matter.
And in brief, look, take us through the process that was involved that saw you getting to this point, Gina, and why do you think your efforts actually garnered enough support to see this through?
Well, I think that this Cradoc Four matter, as with a number of them, is really emblematic of the tireless efforts of the families of the Cradoc Four victims themselves. In particular, the Calata and other family members of victims have fought relentlessly in seeking for the MPA to reopen this matter. In fact, even during 2021, families of the Cradoc Four victims brought an application in the High Courts to compel a decision from the SABC to complete investigations and from the MPA on whether or not there would be a prosecution. As far back as June 2022, there was an undertaking from Shamila Batoy to Parliament that a decision was weeks away on whether or not there would be a criminal prosecution. But it has taken about 18 months for a decision on the reopening of an inquest as opposed to a criminal prosecution because all the perpetrators have since deceased. It's very frustrating. This has been an incredibly long battle. We can understand that the prior inquests, the first one which started in 1987 and another one which started before the TRC hearings, did not bring much evidence to light, and we can appreciate that the inquest during the apartheid regime was, of course, a sham. But since the TRC hearings and the amnesty applications, which were denied to 6 of the policemen that were involved, there have still been decades that have passed without any prosecution. So, while yes, this decision is welcomed today, that there has been an inordinate delay cannot go without mentioning.
Absolutely. And look, I'm sure the families of the Cradoc Four are ecstatic. What has been their reaction at this stage, Gina?
They are certainly welcoming this decision, and it is hoped that this may bring some semblance of closure. Of course, closure in these matters related to apartheid murder and assassinations, the outcome of GLC processes, and the fact that no amnesty was ever granted to any of these perpetrators means that what has been unknown about the assassination of their loved ones by the security branch and by the apartheid state has been something that they have had to live with for decades. And it's something that they, for decades, had to fight to have justice brought about on. And so absolutely, they are very, very pleased at the reopening of the inquest, and we hope that it will finally be able to lay this matter to rest.
Thank you so much for your contribution this evening. That is Advocate Gina Snyman there of the Foundation for Human Rights in-house counsel.